Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Oh, okay. Here I am. Oh, I need a tissue. As you know, my studio is in the basement, and I was actually, what is that over there? There's like some, is that my cable? I don't know. I'm seeing like oh, it's this thing. Okay. So I've got all kinds of historical stuff spread out here that I've been working on, still from the pandemic when I had to bring a bunch of stuff home, and it's like all over the basement floor. So I was cleaning it up a bit because my anarchy symbol. It's there we go. Okay, so yeah, to make my husband happy. This is probably going to be a somewhat brief episode, but it's our Friday night. Let me get all my shit together. It's our Friday night LP history. And you may have seen tomorrow I am doing LNC chair election pre-game show. So be sure to tune in for that. Before we get started, as usual, below is my Patreon. If you enjoy the type of content that I do and you have the means to do so, please consider supporting this channel. It is my part-time and only job right now, as I'm looking for full-time employment in my field. So every little, excuse me, I still have the cough. Remember, I did get the COVID test. It's not Rona, not that you could catch it through the camera, but in case you were actually concerned. So yeah, I do appreciate any support. And in the low bar in YouTube, you can also find other ways that you can support: Venmo, PayPal, Amazon affiliate link, and all of that. So yeah, and thank you, Hector. This is type of content. It is very niche. It's a small niche, but it should be a dedicated niche. So if you'd like to see this continue, I would appreciate your support. Let's get that off the screen as I find it very distracting. And let's pull up my chat widget, if that will load. Here we go. So we are doing the bonus episode for July, August 1973 LP News. We did the bulk of it last week, but what we were going to do this week was the political perspective, and I told you there were a few things I highlighted. They said, ooh, I'm going to look for that. I'm going to look for that. I did find one of the stories, and we'll do that immediately after the political perspective, so I'll keep you waiting for that at least. And let's go over here, and I will pull up the LP News. Go to this screen. Let me find the LP News. And you know what? I should actually pull my chat widget into this screen next time. I don't have it right now, but I think next time. So, political perspective. Let me take a drink of some soda here. Helps my throat. Gives me energy. Alrighty, and remember, this is always a participatory program. I do them live rather than pre-recorded because I like interacting with comments. So, political perspective, number 12. Watergate and the LP. So we are getting into the very interesting period of time of early 70s political history. Remember, the political perspective is this normally written by David Nolan. This time it's not. This one is written by Roger Eisenberg of White Plains, New York. But it's talking about what's going on in politics outside the LP. All right, let's go through it. It says, with Watergate figuring so prominently in the news these days, and man, can you imagine, like, they didn't have the internet, but still, God, can you imagine what Watergate would have been like with the internet? But people were still completely transfixed, you know, and couldn't wait for the next newspaper or Walter Cronkite to come and talk about this. It is only natural to ask what effect it will have on the development of the LP as a political party. In this writer's opinion, the first obvious political effect of Watergate is to tarnish the Nixon administration and to some extent the Republican Party. Now remember, Watergate had already, at least part of the scandal had happened prior to Nixon getting reelected, which is just so surprising to me. And hello, Dave. Drive safe coming home from that fair. The immediate beneficiaries will be the Democrats. Gains in next year's congressional election and recapturing the White House in '76 seem within their grasp now. And as we know, they did get the White House in '76. That was Jimmy Carter, wasn't it? However, as a minority party, we can also profit from the decrease in respect for the GOP. We must get all the mileage out of that attainable to us. We can broaden our gains if something else happens. Specifically, if the Democrats throw courtesy or decorum, right? Sorry. Oh, man. Oh, 1 second here. I want to move because I don't see too well. So I want to move one of my screens over here. Okay. Throw courtesy to the winds and go after Nixon and friends with full abandon. Rake the muck and make Nixon look worse than Teapot Dome. What is Teapot Dome? I should look that up. I have no idea what that is. Tammany Hall and Mayor Daley combined. Now, Tammany Hall, we know that was like the Democratic Party machinery, and so was Mayor Daley, so I'm assuming Teapot Dome is something like that. Nixon will then send his dogs out to bear corruption and political trickery by the Democrats, both real and fabricated. That shootout would leave both parties, particularly the more vulnerable GOP, politically weakened. Thus, the two-party system will be hurt, which is our foremost goal in terms of political strategy right now. Even with the Nixon counterattack, the Democrats will probably win a convincing victory in '76 behind Teddy Kennedy, whom they will be even more sure to turn to if under fire, to unite and save them. The certain Republican infighting that Watergate has already caused will lock up the victory for the Democrats. 1976 is the year the GOP will nominate their man through a wide-open primary struggle, as the Democrats did in 72. They will never unite enough to even have a chance, especially with the damage and division Watergate has done them. If you are one of my patrons, we're going through Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 1972 right now. And you can see how all of that history we've learned in that book is tying in right here. The drag-out fight of the Democrat convention in 1972. And I'm going to be doing a couple more chapters right after this for the patrons. So it's interesting to me the way all of this is tying together, and we're getting a real education on political history. In sum, the Democrats should win in a Kennedy landslide in 76. Now, as we know, Kennedy did not run in 76, but in 72, they really did expect that. And in fact, they were scared, at least the McGovern people were scared at first that Kennedy would jump into the race, and then they were hopeful afterwards, after McGovern had sealed up the nomination, that Kennedy would be his running mate. Obviously, neither happened, which may help us, according to no less a statist than columnist Stuart Alsop. He said last December that continued landslides like 64 and 72 can weaken and ultimately destroy, and here's such a 70s expression, right on, the two-party system. To help bring this all about, I urge all of you to write a letter to your Democratic congressmen and senators, if you have any, and to Senator Sam Ervin, and he gives the address, to urge a gloves-off style full-scale attack on the Watergate scandal and the entire surrounding GOP spying and sabotage of the last election. I wouldn't put down I'm an LP member because it should look spontaneous. If every LP member writes Sam Ervin such a letter demanding a no-holds-barred approach, it can pay off well for the LP. And it's signed Roger Eisenberg. Now, Hector looked up Teapot Dome. So let me put this up on the screen. Teapot Dome was a bribery scandal during Harding administration to approve no-bid lease Navy petroleum reserves at Teapot Dome in Wyoming and 2 other places in California to private oil companies. So was this primarily a Democrat or Republican scandal, or was it kind of both of them being corrupt at the same time? I'm curious because the other things mentioned, Mayor Daley and Tammany Hall, were both Democrat things. Okay. Also, I want to note here, it says an invitation. We are pleased to bring you in this issue the first political perspective column written by someone other than your editor, meaning other than Dave Nolan. We hope this will be the first of many articles contributed by readers, and thus urge any of you who have something to say that is of interest to politically oriented libertarians to send in articles for consideration. In addition, we hope more of you will take the time to offer comments on items which do appear in LP News. At this time, there are only about 15 people who offer comments on the contents of LP News, and while we have more than enough mail to handle on other subjects, we would like more reader feedback on LP News. We must caution you, however, that we cannot always answer letters personally. Criteria which will be used in selecting items to be published are the following: relevance. Items must be specifically related to political topics. If they deal with other subjects, e.g. economic trends, they should deal with the relation between those subjects and libertarian political action. 2, length. The shorter the better. Ideally, submissions should be no less than 500 words long. Absolute maximum is 1,000 words. 3, quality. Items should be written clearly and concisely, presenting points cogently and in an easily understandable form. Items submitted for inclusion in bits and pieces may deal with a wider range of topics, but should be informative and brief, 100 words. Letters will not usually be considered for publication. We just don't have the space unless they are of unusual importance. Now, so Hector gave this additional information. And I'm surprised knowing this now that I've never heard of this. Before the Watergate scandal, the Teapot Dome scandal was regarded as the most sensational example of high-level corruption in the history of U.S. politics. Interesting. I never ever heard of it. I'm curious if any of you guys had. Before we continue, also, I meant to put in the introductory thing about supporting the show that generally political content, even though I am approved for advertisements, they're usually not considered advertiser friendly by YouTube, which is one reason why I always do ask for patrons. And as usual, though it doesn't give anyone any kind of special priority, like some larger channels, super chats are always welcome. Okay, farther down in this page, we went over this last time, but if you see there that title, it says California Libertarians Picket Eviction Trail. I'm going to read this paragraph again because I found some news items on this. So it says a group of California LP members led by David Merrick of Monterey recently received media coverage by picketing a trial where the government is seeking to evict an elderly couple who don't want to give up their home to urban renewal planners. Not only have American companies succeeded in getting the trial moved once by influencing public opinion against the bureaucrats, but they have conveyed to the public the fact that the LP stands for true humanitarian ideals and that the government is a violator of human rights. And this really interested me because one of the things your patronage pays for is a monthly subscription to newspapers.com. And I think that's about $30 a month. And it helps me look up background information for these historical shows. And I said, well, it said it got media publication, so I should be able to find some news coverage. I was only able to find one article, but at least I found that one. So I'm going to pull up for you what I found on that particular event. Oh, and I want to remove that. Here we go. Okay. So jury awards Seaside Man $1,005. Excuse me. Yeah, $105,000. Okay, things were cheaper then, but not that much cheaper for 8 lots. So it says Tommaso San Paulo was awarded $105,000 by Monterey County Superior Court jury yesterday for 8 small lots sought by the Seaside Urban Renewal Agency. So this is an eminent domain case for a shopping center. How the hell is that eminent domain? Such abuse. How is a shopping center? My God. The size of the judgment was nearly twice the $54,650 offered by the agency, which brought the condemnation action. You're condemning property for a shopping center. Shame on you. The lots are near Roberts Lake in Seaside, the site of the planned Laguna Grande redevelopment project. The jury returned the verdict after an hour of deliberation. The 88-year-old, imagine having to deal with that when you're 88 years old, San Paulo and his wife Maria had refused to sell the property to the agency. The $105,000 judgment was the full amount asked for them by the San Paulo's attorney, Michael Meehan of Monterey. The trial was delayed 2 days and switched from Monterey to Salinas because of picketing by David Merrick and members of his Libertarian Party in support of San Paulo's refusal to sell the property. The trial was to be begun last Monday, but was delayed until Wednesday. On Wednesday, the pickets again appeared in front of the Monterey courthouse in Salinas until threatened with arrest by police for interfering with the administration of justice. Mario San Paulo, the son of Tommaso and Maria, said today the family will refuse to leave the property. He said the family resents, I would as well, the development agency's action in approaching the San Paulo family with $5 in one hand and a subpoena in the other. It's a choice between one or the other. We don't want to leave that property, especially for a commercial venture, the younger San Paulo said. We were forced into court. Our feelings are very strong to remain there. None of us want to leave, especially Mom and Dad. They are going to have to be removed bodily. Can you imagine? This is your property. And the state, fucking state, decides it needs it for a shopping center. This is obscene. Good for David Merrick and the Libertarians. So immediately they were doing good and getting media for it. But sometimes you do good just for good's sake. And, you know, the media is great if you can get it. But even if they didn't get it. Funny thing, this is the only story I could find on newspapers.com. For any of this, not just mentioning David Merrick, but mentioning this case at all. Probably if I looked up, what is the name of that, was the Laguna Redevelopment Project, I could have found more. But it was kind of cool how I was able to connect the LP history to this piece of news. And again, this is not the type of content you're going to find elsewhere. And that's pretty much going to be it for today. But I wanted to give you a taste of what we're going to start on for our bonus episode next week. So, one second here. Let me make sure I have this queued up. I do. Okay, next scene, I think here. Whoops, nope, that isn't the right thing. Hold on one second. Right here. Okay. So you should be seeing on your screen my desktop showing the political action manual and my video. Hello, Julian. So you can see I have it printed out here. I actually do have the actual bullet. Probably thinking of the state again. Oops, shouldn't say that. Booklet. I'm a pacifist, remember. And I am legitimately a pacifist. I have the actual booklet, but it's in storage, but I just printed out the scan. This is the first instructional manual for affiliates in doing political action that was produced by David Nolan for the LP. And you can see the little tan staple thing on the bottom. It is dated from 1972 and it sold for $1.25. So we're going to go through page by page, I think, or at least enough of it, at least the major points of this entire political action manual, and talk about what kind of things are still relevant to today, what we could update, any hints or tips we might learn. So this is almost going to be history, but also practical politics. And I think, let's go down here. This is 56 pages, I think. Yep. Let's go to the last page here. One second. Why does it say 56? Oh, here we go. All right. And it says where it could be ordered from, which again, that address, the Lowell Boulevard address, was David Nolan's home at the time. Let's see what page 55 has. Oh, check out these directories of libertarian groups. A is A, Libertarian Handbook, Libertarian Yearbook, which I've not yet been able to find. I do have some issues of A is A. I do have, I think, three different years of the Libertarian Handbook. And he gives some recommendations, because remember, there wasn't internet then. Usually finding good vendors was by word of mouth. And Libertarian jewelry, Frantonio specialties. Remember, we looked them up in a much earlier episode of LP News, because they were, they had little tan staffel pins and the like, but they're not still in existence. So yeah, but I'm wondering who it was that owned Frantonio Specialties. I was hoping they still had the molds for some of this libertarian jewelry. I'm sure one day I will find somebody who'll be like, oh, my parents owned that or something. But until then, I will be on a quest for Frantonio Specialties. Let's see what page 54, if that's the content. Oh, sources of information. I'm just going through some of the peripheral stuff right now. We're not going to get into the actual content until next week. You can see it gives sources for voting records, review of the news. Oh, check this out. Campaign techniques. 10-step course in practical politics. And campaign technique manual. I think I'm going to look up all of these books to see if I can find them at a used book source. It would be very interesting to have them and go through them. See what this is. References. Look, leftist and rightist groups. So they count the ACLU as leftist, and rightist, John Birch. Institute for the Study of Nonviolence. I've never heard of them. We do know about the New Right Coalition. We've talked about them. We've also talked about the Liberty Amendment Committee before. And then here is also the War Resisters League. Okay, so the rest is content. I'm going to look up some of these books, though, and I'll let you know by next time if I was able to find any of them. And again, buying this kind of material, because this political action manual, the hard copy I have, though this has been scanned and put on Elpedia, this was something I bought on eBay from my own funds and donated to the party. So also your support does go to me picking up historical material, which I do donate to the LP, unless it's not LP related, like if it's old copies of Reason Magazine or A is A or things like that. I do just keep those in my private collection, though I'm willing to scan anything for any interested party members. And Elastic Giraffe had a comment I want to put up here. Yeah, A is A, it was a Ayn Randian publication. It was a Randian, and Randianism did have much more weight in the party. And those familiar with Ayn Rand or her works, you know, Atlas Shrugged and the like, know that her kind of summary statement of objectivism is A, which seems obvious, but to some people it apparently is not obvious. So that is it for this time. I appreciate you all coming. And hold on one second. Let's go to the next scene. I want to show you where I have the second camera. If I can go to the next scene, check it out. Yeah, so here you can see a little bit of, I didn't shut the door to the, that's the furnace room. I literally am in my basement. But I know some people like to see the setup. And as you can tell here, I have this very old desk that has this like indent, I guess you'd call it. This is an old secretary's desk, and this is where the typewriter would go, and the secretary would be, you know. So it's an old secretary's desk, which I thought was apropos. And you can see here, just at the very tip, my mixing board. Up here, obviously, the microphone. So I know people sometimes are very interested in what you can't see in the main frame. So that's why I set this camera up like this. But I do need to do something with that corner. Normally, when I think I'm going to show this area, I do this. I've got like this little screen. And that makes it look a lot tidier, doesn't it? Yeah, my pink camo leggings. Oh, yeah. I forgot I was wearing those too. I do, I am an unusual fashion sense. So, okay, everyone, I hope you have an awesome night. My voice is slowly improving. And please show up tomorrow for the pre-game show where we are going to discuss the Libertarian Party tea. Unfortunately, there is a lot of tea. And I'm trying to find... Oh, here we go. Here's my sound effect for that.
Give me my tea, bitch!
Give me my tea, bitches!
Damn! That shit good!
Oh, my God. And here's another one.
This is great. This is some good drama.
You can't pay for that.
No, you can't. It just simply is.
It's like an eclipse.
This is some good drama. It's like an eclipse. Oh, my God. Okay, everyone. I'm going to be heading off. I'm going to be recording another episode of... chapters of Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail for my patrons. We are getting near the bitter end. So, and I did just update my patrons list. So if you are one of the new patrons and we're like, damn, you don't have my name in your outro video, I just did update that. So everyone should be there. Thank you very much. Have an awesome night.
what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because